Hello friends, welcome to Medical Dew. In today's video, we will discuss the 5th chapter of 11th NCERT, that is Morphology of Flowering Plants. So without further delay, let us discuss the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants. If you like my video, then don't forget to subscribe the channel. Let us start the chapter. The wide range in the structure of higher plant will never fail to fascinate us, even though the angiosperms show such a large diversity in external structure or morphology. They are all characterized by the presence of root, stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. In chapter 2 and 3, we talked about classification of plant based on morphological and other characteristics. For any successful attempt at the classification and at understanding any higher plant, or for that matter, any living organism, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definition. We also need to know about the possible variation in different parts found as adaptation of the plants to their environment. Example, adaptation to various habitat for protection, climbing, storage, etc. If you pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have root, stem and leaves. They may be bearing flowers and fruit. The underground part of the flowering plant is the root system, while the portion above the ground forms the shoot system. Let us see the root. In majority of the dicotyledonous plants, the direct elongation of the radicle leads to the formation of primary root, which grows inside the soil. It bears lateral root of the several orders that are referred to as secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. The primary root and its branches constitute the taproot system, as seen in the mustard plant. Figure 5.3 describes the mustard plant with primary and secondary root, which constitute the taproot system. Here they have mentioned the flowers, fruit, stem, leaves, node, internode portion, bud. The above ground portion is called as shoot system, while the below portion is called as root system. In monocotyledon plant, the primary root is short-lived and is replaced by a large number of roots. Those roots originate from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system, as seen in the wheat plant. Figure 5.2b. Let us see the 5.2. Fibrous root system, as seen in the wheat plant. In some plants like grasses, monstera and the banyan tree, root arise from the part of the plant other than the radicle. Are called as adventitious root. Figure 5.2c represents the adventitious root. The main function of the root system are absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing a proper anchorage to the plant part, storing reserve food material, and synthesis of plant growth regulators. Regions of the root. The root is covered at the apex by a thimble-like structure called the root cap. Figure 5.3 represents the thimble-like structure root cap. It protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap is the region of the meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin-walled, and with dense protoplasm. They divide repeatedly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root in length. This region is called the region of elongation. The cells of the elongation zone gradually differentiate and mature. Hence, this zone proximal to the region of elongation is called the region of maturation. From this region, some of the epidermal cells form very fine and delicate thread-like structure called the root hairs. These root hairs absorb water and minerals from the soil. Here they have mentioned the region of maturation, region of elongation, region of meristemation. In the root hairs. Root hairs comes from the region of maturation. You have to remember the region, which is above, which is below. For exam point of view, let us discuss the modification of root. Root in some plants change their shape and structure and become modified to perform function other than absorption and conduction of water and minerals. They are modified for support, storage of food and respiration. Figure 5.4 and 5.5 represent this type of structure. Tap roots of carrot, turnip and adventitious roots of sweet potato get swollen and store food. Can you give some more such examples? Have you ever wondered what those hanging structures that support a banyan tree are? These are called prop roots. Similarly, the stems of maize and sugarcane have supporting root coming out of the lower node of the stem. These are called a stilt root. You have to remember that the stem of maize and sugarcane have stilt root system, while in the banyan tree the roots are called as prop root. In some plants such as rhizophora growing in swampy areas, many roots come out of the ground and grow vertically upward. Such roots called nematophores help to get oxygen for respiration. Here you have to remember the rhizophore grow in swampy areas and the root coming out is called as nematophores. This helps to get oxygen for respiration. Here they have mentioned the picture of modification of root for support in banyan tree. Modification of root for storage. Respiration, nematophores in rhizophora. For storage, here they have mentioned the turnip, carrot, sweet potato, asparagus. The stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from a root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers and fruit. It developed from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. The stem bears node and internode. The region of the stem where leaves are born are called nodes, while the internode are the portion between the nodes. The stem bears buds which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and later become often woody and dark brown. The main function of the stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers and fruit. It conducts water, mineral and photosynthesis. Some stems perform the function of storage of food, support, protection and of vegetative propagation. Let us see the modification of stem. The stem may not always be typically like what they are expected to be. They are modified to perform different functions. Figure 5.6 represents the different functions. Underground stem of potato, ginger, turmeric, zamin curd, colocasia are modified to store food in them. You have to remember the example. Potato, ginger, turmeric, zamin curd, colocasia are modified to store food in them. They also act as an organ of perennation to tide over the condition unfavorable for growth. Stem tendrils which develop from the axillary bud are slender and spirally coiled and help plant to climb, such as groundnuts, ants, cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon, and grapevine. Axillary buds of stem may also get modified into woody, straight, and pointed thorns. Thorns are found in many plants such as citrus and bougainvillea. You have to remember citrus and bougainvillea form thorns. They protect plants from browsing animals. Some plants of arid region modified their stem into flattened opuntia. Arid region modification example is opuntia or fleshy slender is euphorbia structure. They contain chlorophyll and carry out photosynthesis. Underground stem of some plants such as grass and strawberry etc. spread to new niches, and when older parts die, new plants are formed. In plants like mint and jasmine, a slender lateral branch arises from the base of the main axis and after growing aerially for some time arcs downward to touch the ground. A lateral branch with short internode and each node bearing a rosette of leaves and a tuft of root is found in aquatic plants like Pistia and Acornia. In banana pineapple and chrysanthemum, the lateral branches originate from the basal and underground portion of the main stem, grow horizontally beneath the soil and then come out obliquely upward, giving rise to the leafy shoot. Here they have mentioned the example. Modification of stem. First, for storage is ginger, jaminkan, potato. Second is support, axillary bud modified into tendrils. Third is for protection, bougainvillea species, stem modified into spine. And fourth is spread and vegetative propagation. Example is oxalis species, root arising from nodes. Let us see the leaf. The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil. The axillary bud later developed into a branch. Leaves originate from the shoot apical meristem and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organ for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts: leaf base, petiole, lamina. Figure 5.7a represents these things. The leaf is attached to the stem by the leaf base and may bear two laterally small leaf-like structures called stipules. In monocotyledons, the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, which is called the pulvines. The petiole helps hold the blade to light. Long, thin, flexible petiole allow leaf blade to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to the leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf base is the green expanded part of the leaf with veins and veinlet. There is a usually middle prominent vein which is known as the midrib. Veins provide rigidity to the leaf bed and act as a channel of transport for water, minerals, and food material. The shape, margin, apex, surface, and the extent of incision of the lamina varies in different leaves. Let us see the figure 5.7 structure of leaf. First, they have mentioned the part of leaves. In this, they mentioned the leaf lamina, stipule, petiole, axillary bud, leaf base. Second is reticulate venation. Third is parallel venation. First, we will discuss about the venation. The arrangement of the veins and the veinlet in the lamina of the leaf is termed as venation. When the veinlet forms a network, the venation is termed as reticulate. When the veins run parallel to each other within a lamina, the venation is termed as parallel. Let us see the figure. Here, the first is a reticulate venation and second is parallel venation. In this, the veins run parallel to each other. Leaves of dicotyledonous plants generally possess reticulate venation, while parallel venation is the characteristics of most monocotyledons. Let us see the types of leaves. A leaf is said to be simple when its lamina is entire or when incised. The incision do not touch the midrib. When the incision of the lamina reaches up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, the leaf is called a compound. A bud is present in the axil of the petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axil of leaflet of the compound leaf. The compound leaves may be of two types. Figure 5.8 represents the compound leaf. First is pinnately compound leaf and second is palmately compound leaf. Pinnately compound leaf, a number of leaflets are present on a common axis, the rachis, which represent the midrib of the leaf, as in neem. In palmately compound leaf, the leaflets are attached at a common point, that is, at the tip of the petiole, as in silk cotton. You have to remember the example. For pinnately compound leaf, the example is neem, while in palmately compound leaf, the example is silk cotton. Let us see the phyllotoxy. Phyllotoxy is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch. This is usually of three types: alternate, opposite, and whorl. In alternate type of phyllotoxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard, sunflower plants. In opposite type, a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other, as in calotropis and guava plants. If more than two leaves arise at a node and form a whorl, it is called a whorl, as in Allostonia. You have to remember the example. These examples are very important regarding exam point of view. For alternate phyllotoxy, the example are China rose, mustard, sunflower. In opposite type, the example is Calotropis and guava. And for world type, the example is Allistonia. Let us see the pictures of. First, we will see the alternate phyllotoxy as China rose. Second, opposite guava. And third, world Allistonia. Let us see the modification of leaves. Leaves are often modified to perform function other than photosynthesis. They are covered into tendrils for climbing. They are converted into tendrils for climbing as in pear or into spine for defense as in cacti. Figure 5.10a and b. 5.10a represent the support tendril leaf tendril structure in P, while second for protection spines in cactus. Leaves are modified into spines. The fleshy leaves of onion and garlic store food. Here they have mentioned the figure. Store fleshy leaves as in onion. In some plants such as Australian acacia, the leaves are small and short-lived. The petiole in this plant expand, become green and synthesize food. Leaves of certain insectivorous plants such as pitcher plant, Venus flytrap are also modified leaves. Let us see the inflorescence. A flower is a modified shoot where the shoot apical meristem changes to floral meristem. Internode do not elong and the axis get condensed. The apex produce different kind of floral appendages laterally at successive node instead of leaves. When a shoot tip transport into a flower, it is always solitary. The arrangement of flower on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. Depending on whether the apex gets developed into a flower or continues to grow, two major types of inflorescence are defined. First is racemose and second is cymose. In racemose type of inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in an acropetal succession. Figure 5.11 represents the racemose type of inflorescence. Here the flowers are arranged in acropetal inflorescence. Let us see in cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates into a flower is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in a basipetal order. In racemose, flowers are borne in acropetal manner, while in cymose, the flowers are borne in basipetal manner. You have to remember these things. Here they have mentioned the picture of cymose inflorescence. The flower. The flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperm. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has four different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the solan end of the stalk or peduncle, called a thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers like lily, the calyx and the corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. A flower having either only stamens or only carpine is unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. Example, mustard, datura, chili are actinomorphic. When it can be divided into two similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, it is zygomorphic. Example is pea, gulmohar, bean are zygomorphic. And cassia also. A flower is asymmetric, irregular, if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center. The example is kana for asymmetric. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous when the floral appendage are in multiple of 3, 4, or 5 respectively. Flowers with reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel are called bractate, and those without ebractate. Based on the position of calyx, corolla, and androecium in respect of the ovary of the thalamus, the flowers are described as hypogeneous, perigeneous, and epigeneous. Figure 5.13 represents this type of arrangement. In the hypogynous flowers, the gynoecium occupies the highest position, while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such flower is said to be superior. Example is mustard, china rose, brinjal. If gynoecium is situated in the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level, it is called perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior. Example is plume, rose, peach. In epigynous flower, the margin of the thalamus grow upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of the flower arise above the ovary, hence the ovary is said to be inferior, as in the flower of guava and cucumber are the example of inferior ovary, and the ray florets of sunflower. Let us see the picture of first is hypogynous, where the ovary is at highest position. B and C are perigynous. Except ovary, other floral appendage are on the rim. Third is epigynous, where the ovary is enclosed by other floral appendages. You have to remember the example. Parts of a flower. Each flower normally has 4 floral whorls like calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Figure 5.14 represents these whorls. Let us discuss about the calyx. The calyx is the outermost word of the flower, and the member are called sepals. Generally, sepals are green, leaf-like, and protect the flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous, sepals united, or polysepalous, sepals free. Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalous, petals united, or polypetalous, petals free. The shape and the color of corolla vary greatly in plant. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped. Here they have mentioned the parts of flower: androecium, gynoecium, calyx, corolla, peduncle. Here is the calyx. Corolla means petal, calyx sepals, androecium and gynoecium are the reproductive part of the flower. Let us discuss about the astination. The mode of arrangement of sepal or petals in floral bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as estivation. The main type of estivation are velvet, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. Figure 5.14 represents the estivation. When sepals or petals in a whorl just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, as in Calotropis, it is said to be velvet. If one margin of the appendage overlaps that of the next one, and so on, as in China rose, lady's finger cotton, it is called a twisted. If the margin of the sepal or petal overlap one another but not in any particular direction, as in cassia and gulmohar, the estivation is called imbricate. In pea and bean flowers, there are 5 petals. The largest standard overlaps the 2 lateral petal wings, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior petals, keel petals. This type of estivation is known as vexillary or papilionaceous. Let us see the type of estivation in corolla. First estivation is velvet. Second is twisted. Third is imbricate. And fourth is vexillary. Vexillary estivation is easy to remember because it includes 3 types of leaf. First is standard, largest petal, overlap the 2 lateral wings, and then overlaps the keel. Let us see the androecium. Androecium is composed of stamen. Each stamen, which represents the male reproductive organ, consists of a stalk or a filament and an anther. Each anther is usually bilobed and each lobe has two chambers. The pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called a staminode. The stamens of flower may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves. When stamens are attached to the petals, they are epipetalous, as in brinjal, or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth, as in the flowers of lily. The stamens in a flower may either remain free, polyandrous, or may be united in varying degree. The stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle, monoadelphous, as in China rose, or two bundles, diadelphous, as in pea, or into more than two bundles, polyadelphous, as in citrus. There may be a variation in the length of filament within a flower, as in salvia and mustard. Let us discuss the gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of one or more carpels. A carpel consists of three parts, namely stigma, style, and ovary. Ovary is the elongated basal part on which lie the elongated tubes, the style. The style connects the ovary to the stigma. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is the respective surface for pollen grains. Is the receptive surface for pollen grains. Each ovary bears one or more ovule attached to a flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus and lotus. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is the receptive surface for pollen grains. Each ovary bears one or more ovule attached to a flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus and rose, and are called apocarpus. They are termed as syncarpus when carpels are fused, as in mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develop into seed and the ovary matures into fruit. Let us see the placentation. The arrangement of ovule within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, and free central. Figure 5.16 represent the placentation. In marginal placentation, the placenta form a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary and the ovules are borne on this ridge, forming two rows, as in P. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, the placenta is said to be axial, as in China rose, tomato, and lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovule develop on the inner wall of the ovary or on peripheral part. Ovary is one-chambered, but it becomes two-chambered due to the formation of false septum. Example: mustard and argemone. When the ovules are borne on central axis and septa are present, as in dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called a free central. In basal placentation, the placenta developed at the base of the ovary, and a single ovule is attached to it, as in sunflower and marigold. Let us see the figure. First is the marginal placentation. Second is axial. Third is the example of parietal placentation. Fourth is free central. And fifth is the basal placentation. You have to remember of this placentation. Let us discuss about the fruit. The fruit is a characteristic feature of a flowering plant. It is mature or ripened ovary. The developed after fertilization. If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called a parthenocarpic fruit. Generally, the fruit consists of a whole or pericarp and seeds. The pericarp may be dry or fleshy. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into the outer epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and the inner endocarp. Here they have mentioned the part of fruits of mango and coconut. Outermost part is epicarp, middle is mesocarp, seed, and the stony part is endocarp for mango, also for coconut. In mango and coconut, the fruit is known as drupe. They develop from monocarpellary superior ovaries and are one-seeded. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated into an outer thin epicarp, a middle fleshy edible mesocarp, and an inner stony hard endocarp. In coconut, which is also a drupe, the mesocarp is fibrous. Let us see the seed. The ovules after fertilization developed into seed. A seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. The embryo is made up of a radicle, an embryonal axis, and one, as in wheat, maize, or two cotyledons, as in gram and pea. Let us see the structure of a dicotyledonous seed. The outermost covering of a seed is the seed coat. The seed coat has two layers, the outer testa and the inner tegmen. The hilum is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seed were attached to the fruit. Above the hilum is a small pore called the micropyle. Within the seed coat is the embryo consisting of embryonal axis and two cotyledons. The cotyledons are often fleshy and full of reserve food material. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present the radicle and the plumule. Figure 5.18 represents the radicle and plumule. In some seeds, such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization is a food-storing tissue and called endospermic seeds. In plants such as bean, gram, and pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seed, and such seeds are called non-endospermic. You have to remember the example of endospermic and non-endospermic seeds. Here they have mentioned the structure of dicotyledonous seed: hilum, micropyle, seed coat, cotyledon, plumule, which developed into shoot, radicle developed into root. Let us see the structure of monocotyledonous seed. Generally, monocotyledonous seeds are endosporic, but some, as in orchids, are non-endosporic. In the seed of cereals such as maize, the seed coat is membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. The endosperm is bulky and store food. The outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a protectious layer called aileron layer. The embryo is small and situated in a groove at one end of the endosperm. It consists of one large and shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum and a short axis with plumule and a radicle. The plumule and radicle are enclosed in sheath, which are called coleoptile and coleorhiza respectively. Let us see the structure of monocotyledonous seed. Here they have mentioned the endosperm, embryo, seed coat and fruit wall, aileron layer which is a protective layer, endosperm, scutellum. Plumule is covered by coleoptile while radicle is covered by coleorhiza. Let us discuss the semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. Various morphological features are present to describe a flowering plant. The description has to be brief, in a simple and scientific language, and presented in a proper sequence. The plant is described beginning with its habit, vegetative character, root, stem, and leaves, then floral character, inflorescence, and flower part. After describing various parts of a plant, a floral diagram and a floral formula are presented. The floral formula is represented by some symbol. In the floral formula, PR stands for bractet, K stands for calyx, C for corolla, P for perianth, A for androecium, and G for gynoecium. G below dash for superior ovary and G above dash for inferior ovary. This symbol is used for representing male structure and this symbol is for female. This is for bisexual plant. Circle and plus sign is for actinomorphic and percentage for zygomorphic nature of flower. Fusion is indicated by enclosing the figure within bracket. And adhesion by a line drawn above the symbol of the floral part. A floral diagram provides information about the number of parts of a flower, their arrangement, and the relation they have with one another. The position of the mother axis with respect to the flower is represented by a dot on the top of the floral diagram. Calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium are drawn in a successive whorl, calyx being the outermost and the gynoecium being in the center. Floral formula also shows cohesion and adhesion within parts of the whorls and between whorls. The floral diagram and floral formula in figure 5.20 represent the mustard plant, family Brassicaceae. This is the figure for mustard plant, family Brassicaceae. This sign is for actinomorphic, bisexual. Calyx are 2 plus 2, corolla are 4, androecium are 2 plus 4, gynoecium is superior and which is fused, 2 are fused. Let us see the description of some important families. First family is Fabaceae. This family was earlier called Papilionoideae, a subfamily of Leguminosae. It is distributed all over the world. Figure 5.21 represents the family Fabaceae. Let us see the vegetative character. Trees, shrubs, herbs, root with root nodules. Stem is erect or climber. Leaves alternate, pinnately compound or simple. Leaf base pulvinate, stipulate. Venation is reticulate. Pisum sativum, pea plant. As an example of Fabaceae family, here they have mentioned the flowering peak, flower, petals, reproductive part, longitudinal section of carpel, and floral diagram. You have to remember the example is Pisum sativa for Fabaceae family. In exam, they give you the figure. Then you have to know the name of the plant. Let us see the floral character. Inflorescence is racemose. Flower bisexual, zygomorphic. Calyx, sepals 5, gamosepalous, velvet imbricate estivation. Corolla, petals 5, polypetalous, papilionaceous, consisting of a posterior stander, 2 lateral wings, 2 anterior ones forming a keel, enclosing stamens and pistil, vexillary estivation. Androecium 10, didelphous, anther dithecus. Gynoecium, ovary superior, monocarpellary, unilocular with many ovules, style stick, single. Fruit is legume. Seed 1 to many, non-endospermic. Here they have given the floral formula. Percentage symbol is used for zygomorphic, bisexual, calyx are 5, fused, corolla are 1 plus 2 plus 2, where 2 are fused, androecium is 9 plus 1, 9 are fused, 1 is free, and gynoecium is superior, just 1 in number. Let us see the economic importance. Many plants belonging to the family are sources of pulses. Gram, arhar, save, moong, soyabean, edible oils, soyabean, groundnut, dye, indigofera, fiber, sunhemp, fodder, sesbania, trifolium, ornamental, lupine, sweet pea, medicine, mulethi. Let us see the family Solanaceae. It is a large family commonly called as the potato family. It is widely distributed in tropic, subtropic, and even temperate zones. Let us see the vegetative character. Plant mostly herbs, shrubs, and rarely small trees. Stem herbaceous, rarely woody, erect, aerial, cylindrical, branched, solid. Solanum nigrum, McCoy plant, is an example of family Solanaceae. Here they have mentioned the flowering twig, flower, longitudinal section of flower, stamen, carpel, floral diagram. You have to remember the floral diagram. Or halo, hairy or globular, underground stem is potato. Solanum tuberosum, leaves, alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulate, venescent reticulate. Let us see the floral character. Inflorescence, solitary, axillary or cymose as in Solanum. Flower, bisexual, actinomorphic, calyx, sepal 5, united, persistent, velvet aestivation. Corolla are petals 5, united, velvet aestivation. Androecium, stamens 5, epipetals. Gynoecium, bicarpally, obligately placed, syncarpous ovary superior, bilocular placenta, swollen with many ovules, exile. Fruit is berry or capsule, seed many, endospermous. Floral formula. You have to remember floral formula. From this, you can get the figure. Actinomorphic, bisexual, calyx are 5 which are fused, corolla and androecium. Corolla are 5 which are fused, androecium 5, gynoecium is superior which is 2 in number and fused. Let us see the economic importance. Many plants belonging to this family are source of food. Tomato, brinjal, potato, spice, chili, medicine, belladonna, ashwagandha, fumigatory, tobacco, ornamental, petunia. Let us see the family Liliaceae. Commonly called the lily family, is a characteristic representative of monocotyledonous plant. It is distributed worldwide. Vegetative character. Perennial herbs with underground bulbs, culm, rhizome. Leaves mostly basal, alternate, linear, exstipulate with parallel venation. Let us see the floral character. Inflorescence is solitary, cymose, often umbilicate, cluster. Flower is bisexual, actinomorphic. Perianth. Tepals 6, 3 plus 3 which are fused, often united into tube. Velvet aestivation. Androecium. Tepals with 3 plus 3 fused arrangement, often united into tubes. Velvet aestivation. Androecium. Stamen 6, 3 plus 3 epitepalous. Gynoecium. Tricarpellid, syncarpous. Ovary superior, trilocular with many ovules. Exhale placentation. Fruit is capsule, rarely berry. Seed is endospermic. Floral formula is bract, actinomorphic, bisexual. Perianth 3 plus 3 fused. Androecium 3 plus 3 and gynoecium is 3 which are fused. Let us see the economic importance. Many plants belonging to this family are good ornamental. Tulip, chloracea. Source of medicine, aloe. Vegetables, asparagus and colocasia. Colocaceae autumnale. Let us see the example is Allium cepa, onion plant. Plant, inflorescence, flower and floral diagram. They have mentioned you have to remember the floral diagram or floral formula. On the basis of floral formula, you can remember the floral diagram. Let us see the last part of this chapter, that is summary. Flowering plants exhibit enormous variation in shape, size, structure, mode of nutrition, lifespan, habit, and habitat. They have well-developed root and shoot system. Root system is either taproot or fibrous. Generally, dicotyledonous plants have taproot, while monocotyledonous plants have fibrous root. The root in some plants get modified for storage of food, mechanical support, and respiration. The shoot system is differentiated into stem, leaves, flowers, fruit. The morphological feature of stem, like the presence of nodes and internode, multicellular hair, and positively phototropic nature, help to differentiate the stem from root. Stems also get modified to perform diverse functions such as storage of food, vegetative propagation, and protection under different conditions. Leaf is a lateral outgrowth of the stem developed exogenously at the node. These are green in color to perform the function of photosynthesis. Leaves exhibit marked variation in their shape, size, margin, apex, and extension of incision of the leaf-veiled lamina. Like other parts of the plant, the leaves also get modified into other structures such as tendrils, spines for climbing and protection respectively. The flower is a modified shoot meant for sexual reproduction. The flowers are arranged in different types of inflorescence. They exhibit enormous variation in structure, symmetry, position of ovary in relation to other part, arrangement of petals, sepal, ovules, etc. After fertilization, the ovary is modified into fruit and ovules into seeds. Seeds either may be monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. They vary in shape, size, and period of viability. The floral characteristics form the basis of classification and identification of flowering plant. This can be illustrated through semi-technical description of families. Hence, a flowering plant is described in a definite sequence by using scientific terms. The floral features are represented in the summarized form as floral diagram and floral formula. In this way, we completed this chapter. If you like the video, then don't forget to subscribe the channel Medical Duo and get more update regarding the next chapters.